Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody, to the House Transportation, Finance, and Policy Division for this Tuesday, March 12th. I'm Frank Hornstein, Chair. And as soon as we get a quorum, we'll deal with the minutes. But we do have a very long agenda today, and so I wanted to get going. Time is precious, especially this time of session. So my goal for this afternoon would be for us to get through the first 5 bills, certainly through the Dettmer bill. And then if we can get through all of them, great. But we do have a room reserved for either 5:30 or 6. 5:30 up here in the State Office Building. So we'll not have a very late night tonight, but if necessary, we have that room. So a couple of other announcements. I wanted to let the committee members know and any interested members of the public. One of our shining stars on this committee, Matt Burris, he'd be mad that I'm saying this, did have a fall on the ice, and he's recuperating, and we do have a get well card for him. Matt is nonpartisan House research and is very, very loved by all of us here on this committee. He's always so accessible to us, so smart, and available. And we miss him, but understand he's doing better, and was here earlier but went home. So we will have a get well card circulated. And the final announcement, just a couple of dates for people to circle on their calendars. We are going to hear the governor's ideas for transportation on March 21st. And then we intend to start marking up the committee bill on April 2nd. We'll hear some public testimony April 3rd and hopefully vote this bill out April 4th. So wanted to let folks know those dates as well. And we'll be hearing lots of bills in between. So with that, our first bill on the calendar is House File 219, the Ways and Means Chair, Representative Carlson. Welcome to the committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I took note, and you said falling on the ice because I took a bad fall one time and broke my shoulder.
Oh, no.
And,
you did that?
I have no pain, but this is the difference in my reach, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, wow.
It was right at the Rotary Cup, and they said surgery wouldn't be able to correct it.
Oh, here he is.
Oh, there we are. We're talking about...
We still have a get well card for you.
It's coming around, so don't sign it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
But at any rate, I was just going to say, as a native Minnesotan, those kinds of things happen periodically. We're talking about, Mr. Burris, your fall on the ice. And I chimed in that I had a bad fall a number of years ago and broke my shoulder. But at any rate, that's not why I'm here, but I am here about liability.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chair, I mean, we've got a couple of options. You know, we can send this bill to the General Register or you know, lay it over for our policy or for our finance bill as well. Do you have a preference?
Let me concur with.
Okay.
I think we'd rather
Lay it over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They
Okay,
would rather
so,
lay it over. So,
Mr. Chair, I will move that House File 219 be laid over for possible inclusion
okay,
in the
probably a wise decision.
transportation bill.
Mr. Chairman, this deals with the Botno line, or what's sometimes known as the Blue Line. And what we're trying to do is deal with the liability issues so that we bring the Great Northern, or not Great Northern, that's my family history, the BNSF to the table, and we've modeled the liability part of the bill to deal with the same issue that we've had to deal with the Southwest Corridor and North Star. In fact, this is the exact language that we use with the Southwest Corridor to set liability limits relative to BNSF. And I have with me Commissioner Mike Opat that can comment further, Mr. Chairman, and I understand you have an amendment that you're going to
Yeah, we can
propose.
take that perhaps after the public testimony. if
Okay.
That's okay. Because it's not getting the bill in the shape you would like it in necessarily, Representative Carlson, but I don't think it's terribly controversial. Welcome to the committee, Commissioner Opat. It's great to
Mr.
see you.
Chair. My name is Mike Opat. I'm a Hennepin County Commissioner. Mr. Chairman, as the committee knows, the Botno Light Rail project is critical for our region. Hennepin County is financing this next piece of world-class modern transit that will help Minnesota meet the needs of our workforce and business owners. It's an important segment of the Metro Transit system, connecting communities in North Minneapolis and northwestern Hennepin County with both downtowns, the MSP Airport, the Mall of America, and hundreds of thousands of jobs. This project builds on our success. As you know, Mr. Chairman, each of the two existing light rail lines has been a tremendous success for the state and the region. They have far exceeded their ridership projections. They are driving development. They are connecting people to jobs, and they are protecting the environment by getting cars off the road. Hennepin County is committed to this project. Hennepin County and the Hennepin County Regional Railroad Authority have committed to provide all of the remaining local funds required to complete this project. That's a total of $681 million. We believe in this project, and our staff is working every day to ensure that this line will be just as successful as the existing lines and will bring the same benefits and more to the state and region. To build this project, we need an agreement with the BNSF Railroad. The design has us sharing the BNSF corridor as other LRT lines have and commuter rail lines have shared BNSF and other railroad corridors. In similar agreements around the country for co-located transit lines, BNSF has consistently said that it cannot be made worse off as a result of sharing its land with transit, and we don't disagree with that. We have experience with this arrangement. This bill does not break any new policy ground. The same liability arrangement, as Representative Carlson said, is currently in place for the North Star commuter rail and the Southwest LRT line currently under construction. On North Star, the commuter trains are actually running on BNSF track, not alongside as they will be for Botno, and the arrangement has worked flawlessly. Both BNSF and Metro Transit have excellent safety records and are committed to ensuring that their joint operations are managed according to rigorous safety protocols. This arrangement will protect the public. This law requires Metropolitan Council to carry the same level of insurance that Amtrak carries, currently set at $295 million. This insurance will be available to pay for light rail-related damages against which this bill would protect BNSF. In so doing, it protects the public at a much greater level than would happen in the typical municipal tort cap situation, where there's usually no insurance above the tort caps. This arrangement will protect farmers, manufacturers, and other businesses in rural parts of the state who rely on freight rail service to bring their goods in and out. This bill ensures that in building this project here in the metro area, we avoid adding liability risks to the transportation network on which the rest of the state relies. This bill does not let BNSF off the hook. BNSF's liability will be limited in one respect only, for damages that would not have occurred but for light rail being in their corridor. BNSF will not be better off than it is now. It will still be on the hook for any damages for which it is liable right now without light rail. This bill will only ensure that BNSF is not exposed to new liability because of light rail. This bill is just one part of our effort to ensure safety in the corridor. The Botno corridor is designed with safety in mind. BNSF has invested heavily in capital and technological improvements across Minnesota with safety in mind. With the advancement in technology, railroads are able to inspect track and equipment with greater efficiency, and as a result, recent years have been some of the safest on record. So, Mr. Chairman, this bill, the actual bill itself just changes the date of existing statute so that this project is included in the existing law.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Questions for Commissioner Opat? Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for joining us today, Commissioner. So what is the current status of negotiations with Burlington Northern Railroad regarding the Botno line?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Representative, at present, Burlington Northern has contacted the Metropolitan Council, and there will be a meeting coming in the next few weeks in order to share technical data. I wouldn't call it a full-blown negotiation just yet, but there's finally a communication that's occurring.
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. That's a surprise. because my understanding of their current public position is they're not at all interested in negotiating on this line. Is there a change?
Commissioner Opeth.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think the communication is welcome. I think at the start of all the lines we've planned, the position of whatever railroad has been, we're not interested. So I think it always takes an enduring and consistent level of energy from the public to get railroads to the table. It's not a situation unique to Hennepin County or Minnesota. And I think we're resolved, and so I fully expect that we're going to enter into a partnership as we have in the past.
Thank you.
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that answer, Commissioner. I've always been scratching my head about route selection of our light rail lines here in the metropolitan area, and this one makes me scratch my head even a little harder. Can you tell me how we ended up in this situation where we're running this light rail down a commercial rail corridor when the purpose of light rail is to be close, in my mind anyway, if you're going to build it, you want it close to as many people as possible, not close to as many trains as possible.
Sure.
Commissioner Opeth.
Mr. Chairman, Representative, I can't really do it justice. I'll do my best, but I'd rather take you on a tour sometime. Because what you'd see is this is not in the middle of a freight rail yard. This is one track in a very wide corridor that dead ends out in Monticello. There are no commercial clients of the railroad beyond Albertville, and there might only be one there. This corridor is very lightly used. One train a day, maybe 5 days a week, maybe 10 cars long, and I'm exaggerating that probably by 2 times as you see it day to day. It goes through the heart of Robbinsdale, Crystal, and into Brooklyn Park. There are homes in the backyards of this corridor. The Robbinsdale Police Department and Volunteer Fire Department sit on the corridor, and the Catholic Church of Sacred Heart in downtown Robbinsdale, their parking lot is on this corridor. So this is not a remote corridor. This goes through an inner ring suburban area. So it makes actually perfect sense to put it there in a wide corridor where freight rail can coexist with commuter rail.
Well, thank you, Mr.
Representative
Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm not sure there'd be universal agreement on that, but thanks for the information.
Thank you. Any further questions? We have one more test. Oh, Representative Runbeck. Representative
Chair,
Runbeck.
just a really quick question. So there are not parallel tracks separated by 10 by 11 feet as we have in Kenilworth Corridor?
Mr. Chairman, Representative
Mr.
Runbeck,
Opeth.
at present, there is just one freight track in the middle of a 100-foot wide corridor. When the design is to move the 2 freight rail tracks over onto the eastern side of the corridor and move the freight rail track at the project's expense to the western side of the corridor, that leaves enough space for all kinds of separation that are required.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Runbeck. Any other questions?
Mayor Harris is here.
Yes. Is
you,
Mayor Lundy here as well?
Mr. Chairman, he wasn't able to make it today, but as was pointed out, another mayor from Golden
Okay.
Valley, Shep Harris.
As long as we have a mayor. Welcome to the committee. Mayor Harris, please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Shep Harris. I'm mayor of Golden Valley. Usually you see me around here going up and down the stairs wearing a different type of hat, but for the moment I'm proud to be wearing the hat and representing the residents of Golden Valley. Yes, I'm pitch hitting today for Mayor Lundy from Brooklyn Park. He's usually the one taking the lead, but I appreciate the opportunity, and I can try to help answer a couple of the questions that were raised. First of all, I do want to thank Representative Carlson for being the chief author on this bill, and Representative Freiberg, who's my state representative, for being a co-author on the bill, and of course appreciate your busy time and giving some attention to this issue. It's a very important issue for us, not just in the West Metro area, but we really, and when I say we, I'm talking about what's called the Blue Line Now Coalition. It is a group of representatives from the cities, the county, all up and down this proposed line. We look at this as enhancing the region. When we mean the region, we're not talking about just the West Metro. We're talking about the entire region here that has an impact on the upper Midwest part of the country. The way we see this is it's dealing with economic development, it's dealing with accessibility issues, it's dealing, of course, with some significant traffic mitigation challenges that we have now, and also we foresee in the future. When I mean regional impact, just another example, Once this line is built out, we at Golden Valley have already been having conversations with other communities and with MnDOT to the west of us and south of us. I'm actually looking at Representative Tapke, and he reminds me that there is some work that's already being done, some analysis that's being done about a potential bus rapid transit line that would be coming up from the Shakopee area along Highway 169, connect with Highway 55, and then intersect in Minneapolis with one of the proposed stops, the Penn Avenue station stop of this light rail line. So you can already see this isn't just about an inner ring suburb, even though Commissioner Opat said this is about density, it also is going to have impact in the outer portions of the metro area to the northwest, to the west, and to the southwest as well. So this has been a long process for us, Mr. Chair and members. We have been working on this. I've been mayor for 8 years, and that is about the length of time that this discussion has taken place at the local level with many constituencies, many businesses, many types of stakeholders. One example is Allina Health has Courage Kinney, which is right along Golden Valley Road, which is literally a stone's throw from the Golden Valley Road location that is proposed. So when I talk about accessibility, this isn't just about getting cars off the road or trying to help businesses. This is also an equity issue, trying to help people who have who are trying to get to Courage Kinney to get the service they need. So we did, to Representative Torkelson's question, I do recall back 8 years ago, we looked at 20 plus different options of the local preferred alternatives. There were 20 plus different options. We looked at the federal scoring, and this was one of the top 2 options when it came to a cost-benefit analysis. So sure, selfishly in Golden Valley, we would love to have this line go down Highway 55 going due west, but we realize there's also a growing population sector where Minneapolis and Golden Valley come together, and we see future growth there, and so that's why we decided to support this LPA option. So that is my testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Carlson.
Questions for Mayor Harris? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Mr. Chairman, that would conclude the testimony that we had. I'm sure we've got some other people from Hennepin County that may be available if there were questions, but that concludes our testimony.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Opat and Mayor Harris and, and Chairman Carlson. I do have a A2 amendment that I'd like to move. And Representative Petersburg's interested in this one, too. Members, the A2 comes really out of some of my concerns related to some of the matters that are addressed in this bill, the co-location of light rail and freight rail. And we, in 2014, as a legislature, created a fund, safety fund for rail. And this was really coming out of some of the concerns around oil train safety and other, of course, other hazards that move along our rails. And so what this amendment does is simply uses some of the unencumbered funds. There's still money in that account, even though because of legislation last year, the railroads and pipeline companies are not paying into that account any longer, but there's still unencumbered funds. And I wanted to use those funds that are just sort of sitting there in an account at the Department of Public Safety to provide some grants to local municipalities to do, help local first responders interact with communities on evacuation planning and some of the other things we've been asking for in terms of folks that are living in the vicinity of these rail corridors, and also to implement a preparedness-oriented public awareness campaign. So it's my intention to amend this, not today, but if this amendment gets on onto the bill, when we're marking up the bill. I have talked to some folks along the Bottineau corridor. I have not consulted with them about this, but people in Minneapolis I have, both residents and some elected officials along the Southwest Light Rail Corridor. So I would really want to limit this section at this point to Southwest. Bottineau is still in very early stages, but Southwest has moved along a little bit faster. So because of the fact that I hadn't had a chance to talk to Mayor Harris and others about this, It would be my intention to the committee and that this would just simply apply to the southwest corridor, not the Botno corridor. So with that, I'm happy to take questions on the A2.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're not acting on the A2?
No, we
today?
can act on it. Just, Mr. Burris has advised perhaps that if this does go on, I could wait till markup, but if it's the committee's preference that I take out Botno, we could do that.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'd like to talk a little bit about the railroad pipeline safety account.
Absolutely.
Why it was established, what it was intended to be used for, and how long it was intended to last. You mentioned that we somehow put a stop to it. Well, my understanding is it was a 3-year proposal in the beginning, and those 3 years of contributions have run out, and that the use of that line was for some money to go to the Pollution Control Agency, some money for emergency response teams, and the remaining amount to Homeland Security Emergency Management. And it seems like this amendment, wherever it happens, kind of is going well beyond the original intention of those for those funds.
Well, thank you for the question, Representative Torkelson. The third piece, Homeland Security and Emergency Management, I do believe would fall into the proper category here because this is really intended for communities along these rail lines to have a better emergency management planning and preparedness. So that is the intention here. There's been quite a lot of conversation, discussion, particularly in the area I represent, even among people who will be testifying on a bill later today, that they wouldn't know what to do. They live literally next to the co-located line, and if there was an accident or, God forbid, some sort of problem, there's just no. They would like to know, where to shelter, what evacuation routes, what first responders have in mind for addressing the situation. It's simply a community's right to know, and that's really what we're doing in lines 1.10 and 1.12. Representative Youakim has a question, but I'm happy to answer any additional questions you have. I wonder if it's a little awkward for me to be chairing now. So, maybe since this is my amendment, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Representative Torkelson, did you have any further questions?
Not at the moment.
Good. Representative Youakim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Hornstein, why I agree with the need for this. I agree for the need for this all over our state when it comes to our rail safety. So I'm a little concerned and bewildered why it would just be attached to a co-located railway within just Southwest Light Rail corridor. I think it's a much broader discussion where I agree with Representative Torkelson on that it's a much broader discussion we need to have. And if we're going to do it, we should be doing it throughout our state. So that's just my comment.
Representative Youakim, that is actually an excellent suggestion and one that I think I'll take to heart as we possibly move this.
Representative Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and Representative Hornstein, or Chair Hornstein. And I guess I have the same concern. I am a little perplexed that this is getting tied to the Botno if we're not going to do it on the Botno. But on the other hand, even though there aren't a lot of trains that go up and down the tracks that we're talking about co-locating with Botno, those tracks go through the backyards of people in Robbinsdale, in Golden Valley, and in Minneapolis. And so this would be, the idea of pipeline or oil train safety is important, I think, to those people also, even though at this time I don't believe there are any oil trains going up and down those routes. But I think we should be looking at this for all rail areas, but I'm not sure if this account or just limiting it to where lines are co-located makes sense. I think it should be over a broader discussion.
Chair Hornstein.
Thank you. Having heard the concerns of Representatives Torkelson, Youakim, and Nelson, I will withdraw this amendment now and entertain the idea of perhaps looking at using these unencumbered funds for a similar program statewide, and perhaps limiting this to perhaps the some of the items in 110 through 112. So I will withdraw this amendment and hope to consult with other members of the committee and the Department of Public Safety, and perhaps this can return in another form in a future hearing. So I withdraw the amendment.
Chair Hornstein withdraws his amendment. We still had a question from Representative Hausman. Did you need to continue? Okay. All right. With that, I will pass the gavel back over.
Is there any further discussion of House File 219? Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this amendment, or excuse me, this bill kind of just raises a lot of questions. And so for Chair Carlson, it seems to me the discussion we had a little over 2 years ago, around 2 years ago, was about this issue about co-location and liability and the limitations. And I really thought it was a good idea that if one party that in that co-location has a limitation on liability, that the other ought to share the same amount, because it's the co-location that creates the biggest problem, not necessarily the rail itself. And at that time, the current majority that was in the minority at the time, was vehemently opposed to any of this language, to the point where there was an article, I think, in the Trib. It says, opposed of the bill claim it offers little safeguard to protect residents, home businesses, and environmental should a rail disaster occur. And even a quote by Chair Hornstein that says, this is a special interest bill promoted by the railroad industry to absolve them of liability in case there's an accident. What confuses me is that, as the author of the bill, it does seem like you want the bill to pass. So my question, I guess, is, in the last 2 years, what has changed your view that now this is a good thing for us to pursue?
Representative Carlson.
When you ask what's changed my view, I wasn't present on the committee 2 years ago, so I'm just I wasn't involved with the discussion. Commissioner Opat might choose to comment, but one thing I would like to point out is that the Metropolitan Council, under current law, is required to carry insurance to the level, I think, currently of $294 million. So there is insurance in that regard, and then in addition to that, the railroad would have some liability if there was a direct tie between an event and the light rail. So perhaps Commissioner Opat would like to expand on that.
So,
Commissioner Opat.
Mr. Chairman, Representative, I can't speak to how the votes went. I do know it was carried in the Senate last time. The counties supported the initial liability limitation for the freight railroads. It was a different railroad at the center of that debate, but the principle stands for this line as well. So our position has not changed. We think this is appropriate when there are cases of co-location, and that's why we're here.
Representative Petersburg, then Representative Runbeck.
Just as one follow-up question, or at least clarification, in regards to the Southwest Light Rail, I mean, really the only change in this bill is changing the effective date of when it starts. And the original design of the bill was to limit it to actually the Southwest Light Rail, which was very much in controversy over the co-location, et cetera. Negotiations had already occurred. There are a lot of things going on. This kind of extends it beyond that to something that has started but hasn't really gone that far. And so it seems to me that we really have kind of the cart before the horse until we actually need the needs for that. And so I guess I'm concerned with all the rhetoric that occurred 2 years ago saying, oh, this is dangerous, we shouldn't do that. And even Representative Carlson, I understand that you may not have been here, but your party was part of the one that really had the biggest concern with it. It just seems that it's kind of a reversal, and I just was curious as to what changed. And if you have comment, thank you. If not, that's fine too.
Representative Nelson Youakim after that.
Mr. Chair and members and Representative Torkel, or Representative, not all the members of our party were objecting to this. Others of our party did support this, as we supported it for North Star. This is a bipartisan issue as far as people wanting this liability so that we can get these lines done and so we can protect the public. There are other issues that went on there, and it wasn't just our whole party. So I take a little bit of umbrage at you paying our whole party with that brush, because not all of our party supported Representative Hornstein's, or Chair Hornstein's opinion.
And I can attest to that, Mr. Chair, when I tried to move an amendment on the floor. And that was a good quote, by the way. Thank you for, Representative Youakim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just wanted to clarify that as well, because I believe in after very, very little sleep, there was quite a few of us that spoke on the floor supporting the liability language. And this bill merely just extends that for the New Starts project and applying for that. It's just the beginning of the process and all that we go through, but we're not going to be back again until next year. And this project may look like it might be much more further along next year. And we don't want to always have to be playing catch up, so.
Yeah, and thank you. Further clarification too, the minority leader spoke, a current speaker spoke against that. And you don't necessarily want to be on the other side of an issue with Representative Youakim. I found that out. So is there any further discussion? Representative Runbeck, sorry about that. I
Thank
saw
you,
your
Madam
hand.
Chair, or Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. I was around in this discussion too, and I've never been quite clear about this. So the railroad's liability is being limited to about $300 million. So I guess I'm not sure, but it's because of Met Council's policy that they're able to have that limited liability, because that comes in at the municipal level, $300 million. Cap it at $3 million. Oh, well, okay. So, but my question is, who is purchasing the insurance? And with each new line, is it the same policy, or do we see more of a premium that somebody is paying, and it must be Met Council? So it would be helpful to just have that sorted out.
Mr. Chairman,
Carlson.
it's required
Okay.
that the Metropolitan Council purchase the insurance, and currently that's set at $294 million. Is it
295, I think.
or 295? Okay.
That's correct,
So,
295 is
so,
correct.
Mr. Chair, my question then
Mr. Rupp.
is, we have 3 lines, and there'll be 4 lines, 5 lines. I mean, is that enough then for all the exposure? There's a lot of additional exposure
Commissioner Opat.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Representative Runbeck, that's $295 million per line.
per line.
Per line.
Per line.
And I'm getting that right from the Met Council, yep.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for the record, I also want to say that morning we didn't have any sleep. I think my only friend was Representative Runbeck that day. So thank you for
Mr.
that.
Chair, we were in that battle together, alone.
So, is there any further discussion? Thank you very much, members, and Representative Carlson. This bill's laid over.
Okay, thank you.
Our next bill is House File 1290, Representative Kiel. And I understand you have someone also who made a very long trip here? Or is there someone from Crookston?
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, no, he was called out to work, so
Okay.
Mr. David Brown is going to join me. He didn't have to quite travel quite so far, so.
So, members, I will move House File 1290 for referral to the General Register. Welcome to the committee. Please present your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, the gentleman, Mr. Tom Steinbrenner, came to me. He's a constituent in Fosston, Minnesota, if you've ever been there. Great little town in my district. But anyway, came to me with this on-track equipment bill and the safety concerns that they had. And so he had called me and said that Mr. Brown would be able to testify, and I'm going to let him explain this bill.
Welcome back to the committee, Mr. Brown.
Well, thank you,
State your
Chairman.
name for the record.
Chairman Hornstein, my name is Dave Brown. I'm with the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen. Excuse my voice, but it's been an ongoing issue with the Minnesota weather. I'm also with the International Brotherhoods of Teamsters Rail Conference, which the Brotherhood Maintenance Way Employee Division is also members. This bill basically clarifies the on-track equipment as well as railroad trains when coming to crossings for the public. I believe there's misconception with the public when they see these large pieces of equipment that it's not, they don't have the same rules that you have with the locomotive train, and that is just not true. Some of this equipment is as wide as this room. It's very large equipment. They have usually one or two operators running in this equipment. It's not undue burdens to the state liability, because if the crossing is not working, the lights aren't activated, the gates are not down, it takes two persons, just like on a train, it takes two people to flag and guard that crossing to protect the public. I believe this bill is very common sense, and it definitely wakes up the public that when you see tracks, you think trains, and the on-track equipment would be equivalent.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Brown? Vice Chair Tabke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question and a concern about this bill, because often we have railroad tracks that run right through downtown Shakopee, and often there will be, I'm not entirely sure why, but often there will be a pickup truck or other maintenance equipment that are using the tracks that they're outfitted with the wheels to be able to run on the tracks. And so would this bill apply to those types of equipment as well?
Any on-track equipment, sir. That would be what we call high rails. That's the pickup trucks. Also, they have very heavy-duty trucks that they use to pull up to 10, 15 cars with.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Tabke.
So with that, however, they are often just sitting on the tracks, or even when they cross roads, they don't activate the guardrails as well. So how does someone know that they have to stop, or if they should stop for a vehicle like that is using the tracks, if it's just sitting there? Or how is someone crossing that intersection or that railway crossing supposed to know what to do?
When the on-track equipment does not, sorry, Mr. Chair, Representative Dapke, that equipment is just like with the locomotive. If the crossing gates aren't working, the lights aren't activated, then it takes two people, one person to make sure the traffic is stopped and the train can proceed across the crossing safely without interference.
Okay.
Representative Tabke.
That's not what happens there, so I'm not sure where the disconnect is with it. Because often, and there have been a couple different times where they've done active ticketing for people who cross railroad tracks when there's a train there, and so it's been kind of a sensitive subject in our town. Mm-hmm. So this situation here doesn't fit what happens in our downtown, so I'm not sure what to do with that, because it's the guardrails don't go down when that truck is crossing the Holmes or Fuller, or any of those intersections downtown. So I'll vote. I believe that the intent of this is okay. I just don't understand the details of it is the problem.
Very quickly, Mr. Brown, if you have a response.
Mr. Chair, Representative Dapke, I believe that it is possibly that there's a disconnect with the operators of that equipment, and I could certainly research it for you, but to the best of my knowledge, for all the railroads, that's the process, is that you stop and protect if the warning system is not working properly.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? Great. Seeing none, I will, final comments, if you have any, Representative Kiel.
Just to thank you very much for hearing this, and I would like to point out just the conversation about the pickup trucks that you see on the line. This also entails a larger unit, like Mr. Brown said, that is almost visible difficult for the operator to see visibility of the traffic going on. And so that's why they are included in this safety measure. So
Thank you. So seeing no further discussion, I will renew my motion for House File 1290 to be referred to the General Register. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 All opposed, the motion prevails. You're on your way to the House floor. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Brown. And members, just a reminder, We have, again, my goal is to get through the next 3 bills in our committee time here because we have some members of the public that have come and, they're not lobbyists, they're not, the usual interests that we have around here. And I want to make sure that they don't have to come back. So again, ask your questions. And of course, people can respond, but if we can be brief, that would be helpful. Representative Youakim, do you have a motion for House File 1568?
Yes, Mr. Chair. House File 1568, I'd like to move before the committee. And I'm not quite sure where you're intending it to go, so I'll let you take that over.
My understanding is this came from the floor, so I believe you may need to go to public safety. We'll double check on that.
Okay, thank
So
you.
right now, we'll move you to public safety. And welcome to the committee. Please summarize your bill for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, this is a bipartisan bill that would make modest but important changes to the Minnesota Traffic Code. I would like to thank Representative Runbeck for being a co-author. The need for this change was made clear due to the traffic light rail accident that caused the death of 29-year-old Nick Westlake and severely injured his fiancée, Nellie Petkova. Nick's family and friends are here today on their behalf to ask the committee to support this legislation. Nick and Nellie were traveling in their car together and were crossing University Avenue on a green light. The light rail train traveling on University Avenue approached the intersection with a red traffic light and the light rail stop signal, a vertical white bar many of us have seen, had been illuminated. The operator simply failed to stop, and Metro Transit video shows very clearly that both signals were telling him to do so. When he drove through the stop signals, the train struck Nick's car, and despite heroic efforts by first responders and bystanders to help Nick and Nellie, Nick died from his injuries. The investigation shows that the operator was at fault, but Minnesota's careless driving statutes do not apply to light rail operators. It applies to vehicles, which excludes devices used exclusively upon stationary rail or tracks. Because of this statute, the operator cannot be and was not charged with a crime, not even a misdemeanor careless driving. If he were driving a Metro Transit bus, like the rest of his colleagues, he could have been charged with careless driving. This bill would simply make the reckless and careless driving statutes apply to light rail operators. It closes a gap in current law. If passed, the operator who caused this accident cannot be charged. But I believe, and Nick's family believes, that we need to change this law. Hopefully, some small good can come of this senseless tragedy. Beyond this simple bill to close the loophole, the accident revealed a few other safety concerns the legislature may want to address at a future date. But it is my hope that we keep this bill very focused on this simple correction before us so that we can have it pass this session without it getting caught up in more complicated issues. Mr. Chair, I have 2 members of Nick's family who are here today who would like to speak. Peter Westlake and Seth Westlake, his brothers.
Thank you very much, Representative Youakim, and welcome to our committee, and please state your name for the record.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Peter Westlake. I'm Nick's brother, his older brother. We lost a member of our family, and the Minnesota community lost a shining star. He was a wonderful ballroom dancer. He was a dedicated volunteer. He was a brilliant software developer, and his life was taken when this light rail operator passed through a red light, passed by red traffic, or red taillights of the relative traffic, active cross traffic. And my brother died in that accident. But one of the most challenging conversations that we had to have was with the district attorney, who sat us down and said, yeah, everything shows that this guy ran a red light, and if he were in a bus, if he were in a car, if he were in a truck, we would be pressing charges. But because he's driving a light rail, there's nothing we can do because that's how the law is written. And we just want to see that change. We think that it's appropriate that light rail operators, driving 300,000-pound vehicles should be held to at least the same standard as you or I when we drive a car down the street. So we understand that any changes enacted by this body are not, going to apply to our case, and what's passed is passed. But it's really comforting for us to know that our laws might be something that could have an impact and make our streets safer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Westlake, and we're very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
And I do appreciate your coming and testifying. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Seth Westlake. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nick was an important part of my first years in Minnesota. He was an overwhelmingly supportive and positive figure in my life, and he has been responsible for teaching me so many of the marketable skills I have today. Losing a brother, one of my best friends, and such a valuable member of the Twin Cities community in such a tragic accident is something I could never wish upon anyone else. And we're here today because we'd like to see a change in Minnesota law that might make the light rail system that much safer for other families and members of the community. And to see that light rail traffic is held to at least the same standard as a car, bus, or other vehicle. Like Nick, I have been a big supporter of light rail transportation. I've taken the train countless times to and from the University of Minnesota, where tens of thousands of students cross the tracks every day. And it's upsetting to us that a 150-ton train can miss a signal, potentially hurt someone, and that there would be essentially zero consequences. If Nick had been the one to survive, he would have been right here along with us, but that is unfortunately not the case. So we're trying to make Minnesota and the light rail system a little bit safer. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, I neglected to say before we move on, I have a copy of a magazine that was a monthly publication. Helped put together by your brother, right?
Yeah, me.
Yep.
Yes, he was on the design and committee to help produce this every month.
And I just want to pass this out because this particular monthly publication has a lot of touching testimony from friends and family of Nick's talking about his commitment to the community.
Well, I want to thank you, Representative Youakim. I want to thank both of you, and I think your presence here is an important way to honor your brother, and we really appreciate your being here. So, members, are there any questions of the Westlakes? Yes, Representative Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't know if excuse me, the bill author, if there's anyone present that can answer this question, but Representative Youakim, in your setup, I heard you say that there were 2 signals that were missed on that. Are there any onboard alerts that would allow the driver to know that there's obstructions or the crossing's not clear, or any kind of sensors or any other kind of information over and above the visual cues that you might see at the traffic intersections?
Representative Youakim or?
I was just saying, Mr. Chair, Representative Driscoll, I might have to phone a friend for that. Mr. Shetnan's in the audience if we'd like that question answered now.
Mr. Chair, I just raised that as a question because that will be something that would help eliminate these kinds of things and even the need for prosecution for failure, just raising the level of awareness. And so I don't know if, I was just curious, was wondering if there's anyone present who can answer that, and maybe Mr. Shetland can shed some light on that.
Mr. Shetland can shed some light on that. Please introduce yourself for the committee record.
Great. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Judd Shetland. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Metropolitan Council. And before I respond to your question, Representative, I just want to let the folks know that the council does support this bill as it is written, and so we want to make sure that that is very clear to the committee. To your question, Representative O'Driscoll, we do have the 2 functions. We have the light, and then there's also a bar that is either vertical or horizontal that will allow the train to proceed. Those are both visual signals for the driver. There is not a mechanism on the train that would stop that if there was something in the way.
Representative Driscoll.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. So then just to verify, those visual cues come from outside of the cockpit of the train itself and the engineer's compartment?
Mr. Chair, Representative O'Driscoll, that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shetland. Are there other questions? We have a couple of amendments, I know. Representative Runbeck, you want to?
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you want to do we'll do
Your,
A1?
Your pleasure.
All right, we'll start with the A1 amendment. And so, and I do appreciate the Westlake brothers for being here and helping with this bill, and for Youakim also to carry the bill. But in learning more about the accident and questioning and so on, it became apparent to me that the drivers of light rail vehicles are not subject to the same blood alcohol level restrictions as commercial drivers, commercial motor vehicle drivers are. And it seems like that would sort of just be an automatic, and that we ought to be requiring that that standard be observed. It's used all over the industry for commercial vehicles. So that's the amendment, very simply, that it would be .04 blood alcohol level.
Representative Youakim?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Runbeck. It's my understanding that the commercial vehicle statute doesn't apply to Met Council bus drivers either, but with the reckless driving statute stated in 1568 does to the bus drivers. And with this bill, what I really want to do is make it simple. Want to make sure that the LRT colleagues that are treated the same way as their bus driver colleagues. And when it comes to the rules of the road, and that's one of the reasons for this approach in House File 1568, is to have them on equal playing fields because they're interacting with our traffic the same way. And I want to make this bill as straightforward and simple as possible this year. If there's other things we need to address next year, I'd be more than happy to help with that. So the A1 amendment, once again, would create a different level playing field between colleagues, bus drivers and light rail. So I would prefer not to take this approach this year, but more than happy to talk about it next year.
Well, Mr. Chair and Representative Youakim, yeah, I noted that the bus was not included in this either. But it seems like we're talking about this subject now. We're talking about safety. This seems like just an automatic, and I wondered if perhaps we could make that adjustment further down the line as the bill is coming to the floor and so on. That would be, seems to me, it would be another way to do it.
Representative Youakim?
Mr. Chair, as it moves on, maybe we could talk about that right now. In the other body, it's moving as a clean and simple bill, and I'd prefer to keep it that way for now. But more than happy to keep up the discussion.
Do you want to
Chair,
proceed or withdraw? Or?
To me, it doesn't seem, there's no reason for hesitation, I guess. And if it does require that we end up in a conference committee with the Senate, again, I don't think we'll be taking this issue up, in the near future. This would be the time to do it. So I would like to see this taken up and voted on.
Okay, Representatives Hausman, Bernardi, and then we'll take a vote on the amendment.
Mr. Chair and Representative Runbeck, these are there are a lot of good ideas in these several amendments. What I'm hearing the authors say that I resonate with is there are sometimes bills that we do for a very simple and symbolic reason, and that's what I hear you say you're bringing to us. And what I would wish, Mr. Chair, if you knew what other bills were still out there that were relevant, whether these two amendments, which are worthy, could be moved in another fashion, so that this kind of simple message bill would keep.
Are you? Thank you, Representative. Is that a question for Representative Runbeck, or it's a statement?
Or even to the chair. In other words, what she's looking for is a vehicle to attach some amendments to that might be relevant to some other bills and could allow this one to go a little more simply.
Well, Mr. Chair, I mean, I know how that can go, and it just seems like we've lost it if we leave the committee. So I would think it makes sense for the House to establish a position on this point and have a discussion with the Senate at the time that there would be a conference committee if that happens. So I would like to see us take a vote on it, and I'd actually like to roll call it, Mr. Chair.
A roll call is requested. Representative Bernardi.
I too want to weigh in on this just for a moment. Sorry for your loss of your brother, Nick. It's very tragic, and I hope that never happens to anyone else again. And I see this bill as a legacy bill to Nick. And you're coming with a simple bill, with a strong message, and I would like to see a different vehicle used for these amendments as well. So I would I would request with Representative Runbeck if she would consider withdrawing this at this point, so.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Youakim.
And Mr. Chair, maybe I wasn't clear enough. I wanted to reiterate that I'd be more than willing to work with Representative Runbeck going forward, and I would really appreciate that. I would appreciate if you'd withdraw the roll call, because I think we want to keep this a simple legacy bill to Nick.
Mr. Chair, I don't understand how we have any difference of opinion about blood alcohol level. To me, that's about as straightforward as it can get. And I know you're saying it's a legacy bill, and I don't know about, I don't understand exactly that, but it just seems like this is the time. I would like to proceed with the roll call.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Wolgamott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Representative Runbeck and members of the public. I would just like to reiterate what's been said, that I really do appreciate you bringing forward these ideas and these policies, and I do support those, and I do hope we can all work together as a transportation committee to implement these into law. Just from my point of view, it doesn't seem like this is the best vehicle to do so, but I'm excited to work with you and other committee members on these very important policies that you're bringing forward, and I thank you for bringing them to our attention. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Torkelson? Did you, I was told you had a point. Okay.
Just getting ready to vote.
Okay.
Hornstein?
Oh, hold on. We're not ready to, I wanted to see if Representative Youakim had any further advice for the committee.
Thank
Or
you, Mr. Hornstein, and I respect everybody's individual decisions. Personally, I would like this to go as a simple bill on its own, and we can address some of the other safety concerns. There's another amendment in the packet we can talk about. I would like to ask for this to go on its own so we could move it as quickly as possible and have it actually pass this year.
Thank you. Okay, further discussion? Ms. Stephen, please take the roll.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Representative Elkins is.
What is the vote?
Okay. This is an amendment to Representative Youakim's bill from Representative Runbeck related to blood alcohol levels for light rail operators. Question, Representative Elkins? Or?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Ms. Stevens can take the roll.
Hornstein?
No.
Tabke? No. Torkelson?
Aye.
Bernardi? Elkins?
No.
Hausman?
No.
Heinrich?
Yes.
Cagle? No. Kosnick?
Yes.
Mason?
No.
Nelson?
No.
O'Driscoll?
Yes.
Petersburg?
Yes.
Richardson?
No.
Runbeck?
Yes.
West is absent. Wolgamott?
No.
Youakim?
No.
There being 7 ayes and 10 nays, the motion does not prevail. Representative Runbeck, you have an A2 amendment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the tragedy that occurred on the Green Line with Nick Westlake, was not the first of its kind, and it's brought into conversation a lot of concerns about some of the design issues of the Green Line along University Avenue. And there's a variety, of course, of ways that safety might be addressed. This amendment would say that, for starters, you would have a camera in the cab that is focused on the operator. It turns out that there was no camera available, so that there might be some more information about what was happening in the cab at the time. And secondly, then, it would request the Met Council to submit a report having looked at various ways that might enhance the safety along the line, from crossing arms to sensors in the cab and so on and so forth. And so that basically is the amendment.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any discussion then?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I just think I'd like to say about the A2 amendment, I believe it's an issue that was brought forward by Representative Peterson and that it's something he wants to work on separately from this bill. It obviously adds a fiscal impact and would tie it up in a larger bill. And once again, I would plead with the committee to keep this separate. I would like to see this bill be as straightforward as possible so that we can pass it this session.
Okay. Is there a discussion of the amendment? Mr. Shetland?
All right, Mr.
Well,
I can grab it.
you don't have to stand.
Mr. Chair and members, again, my name is Judd Shetland, the Council's Government Affairs Director, and as I mentioned before, the Council would like to see this bill move forward. However, we do not support the A2 amendment. We have some concerns related to the transit features study. Our LRVs that we currently have under contract that are being built right now already include all the industry standards related to the vehicle safety issues, and also the point on line 2.2 and line 2.3 says infrastructure related to the interaction of light rail transit vehicles with motor vehicles, non-motorized traffic, and pedestrians. On the southwest line of the 16 at-grade intersections, 15 of those have gates, and only one of them has a stoplight, and that is one that operates in downtown. I believe that this is already covered. It's unnecessary, and we oppose it. But we would like to see the bill move forward without the amendment.
Okay. Is there any questions of Mr. Shetland or the author on this?
Well,
Representative Runbeck.
Mr. Chair, there was kind of some conversation going. Do we know if the Met Council will be bringing a report on safety items that they're going to be undertaking on the Green Line? I'm sorry.
Mr. Shetland, maybe you should camp out here.
Yeah, I'll do that. Sorry.
So, Mr. Chair, I mean, the issues are kind of glaring when you think about the fact that there are no crossing arms, and so on and so forth. So I'm just hoping that we will hear something from Met Council as to the plans and how safety will be upgraded.
Mr. Chair, Representative Runbeck, as I stated before, that our transit safety standards meet industry guidelines. And so I know we've had lots of discussion about light rail vehicles and studies in the past. I believe we're happy to have that conversation with you. I think that the way that we operate today, again, operates. We've been doing this since 2004, since we opened the Blue Line. And so if you want to have a conversation about a study, we can certainly do that, but I would suggest you don't do it in this bill because we would like to support this bill.
Representative Runbeck? Maybe a final
Mr.
comment and
Chair.
a final comment from the chair, or from the chair of the Education Committee.
I'd like to see some hard answers. I think we all are owed that. The public is owed that. So I'd like to just take a vote on the bill, or on the amendment, rather. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Final comments from,
Mr. Chair,
Representative
Representative Runbeck, I just would like to have this bill go out as simply as possible. I don't know how many times I can state that, but
okay, so it
Thank you
sounds
for
like
your support.
you're recommending a no vote on the amendment.
I am recommending a no vote. It's a much bigger issue than what we should be dealing with in this bill.
Okay, so to the A2 amendment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
The motion does not prevail. So we're back to the bill. Representative Youakim, do you have any?
I would
Final
like to thank
comments?
the members of this committee for hearing this bill, Mr. Chair, and for the discussion around it, which I'm sure will continue. This is a really straightforward bill that would simply make the reckless and careless driving statutes apply to light rail operators the same as it does for their colleagues driving a bus. If passed, the operator who causes accident cannot be charged, but I believe that Nick and Nick's family believes that we need to have this change in law and need to have it right now. I recently read stories that Nick's friends and family shared about his amazing spirit in the magazine I just passed around and his love for dance as well as for his family and friends. Hopefully some small good can come from this senseless tragedy, and I ask for your support for House File 1568. Thank you.
Okay, any final comments?
Mr. Chair,
Representative-
there was some
Representative-
question about the
Yes.
roll call vote. I just want to get on the record that
Yeah.
what the roll call was.
Yes, I was going to do that following this vote, but I'll do it now. The correct roll call vote was 6 ayes and 11 nays. So I want the minutes to reflect that. And the committee legislative assistant will include that in the minutes, the names of the members and their votes. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, House File 1568.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Actually, just to show our support and our support on this bill, could I ask for a roll call on the final bill?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So a roll call is requested on House File 1568. Ms. Stevен will take the roll.
Hornstein,
Yes.
Tabke, Torkelson,
Yes.
Bernardi, Elkins,
Yes.
Hausman,
Yes.
Heinrich,
Yes.
Hagel, Kosnick,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
O'Driscoll, Petersburg,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Runbeck,
Yes.
West is absent, Wolgamott,
Yes.
Youakim,
Yes.
There being 17 ayes and 0 nays, the motion prevails.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Patke will be
Mr. Chair, just for clarification, this is going to public safety, right?
Yes.
All right, with that, we will now be taking up Chair Hornstein's Bill 1674. And Chair Hornstein, would you like to move your bill so we can start discussion?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would like to move House File 1674 be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill.
And there's also an author's amendment. Would you like to take that now as well?
This amendment, Mr. Chair, is just to get the bill in the shape I'd like it considered in. The A1 is, I think, just perfunctory language that is used in any Met Council-related bill that Mr. Burris suggested. So it just deals with the fact that even though this does relate to a very small part of Hennepin County, whenever the Met Council is mentioned, it has to include all the counties. Is that correct, Mr. Burris?
Mr. Burris.
Mr. Chair, Representative Hornstein, it does have that application clause that's standard for Met Council-related provisions. In addition, it establishes effective dates for a couple of the sections to be the day following final enactment instead of August 1st.
Thank you. And members, Mr. Burris is back. Mr. Burris is back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burris. And thank you, Mr. Chair. Any further comments on
No,
that?
just
A1?
this is straightforward language. Thank you, Mr. Burris, for catching those items in the original draft.
All right, we have an author's amendment here, and we will now vote on the author's amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion prevails. And Mr. Chair, would you like to begin discussion on
Sure.
your
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Some of you may be familiar, we had some language related to the Calhoun Isles Condominium Association in the past. There's now been a several-year back and forth between these folks that I represent and the Metropolitan Council related to concerns about vibration in their building, which is located adjacent to the proposed Southwest Light Rail line. The residents have hired a consultant who has come up with a different vibration standard than the Metropolitan Council. And the reason this is an issue is that this particular building is a former grain elevator. And because of the concrete and older design of the building, there is cause to believe that there may be some issues related to vibration which would not affect a traditional building. There was a housing development close to this building, and the residents felt significant vibrations. In fact, there was some cracked walls and other damage to their building as a result of the construction that was actually quite a distance, well, I wouldn't say quite a distance away, but certainly a further distance than the proposed light rail line. So because of those issues related to damage to the building and vibration, this has become a question and an issue. And so what the bill does is it simply asks the Office of Dispute Resolution to help resolve this question, this dispute, if you will, between the residents and the Metropolitan Council. We ask for a susceptibility study on vibration in Section 2. In Section 3, we just ask for some compensation for the residents who have really run up some costs due to the fact that they've hired consultants and had other expenses related to this issue. And this would come from the contingency fund that is available for things like, potentially available for things like this that is associated with the Southwest Light Rail project. And I would just add that it is not unprecedented for public bodies to reimburse citizens groups for their expenses. This is an idea that I got from legislation concerning the Superfund. Many citizens groups were in the 80s and 90s involved in various disputes in their communities related to the federal Superfund bill, and there was money available in that bill to compensate groups for these types of expenses. So it's not unprecedented that that the public sector do this kind of thing. So I have several people from the community that would like to testify, Mr. Chair, and look forward to a lively discussion.
Please proceed. Thank you very much for being here. And if you could please state your name for the record. And we're trying to squeeze in another bill here yet today. So if you could keep it brief, we would much appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to speak. My name is Van Owens Hayes, and I am a homeowner and president of the Calhoun Isles Condominium Association. And of course, I'm here to support this bill, and I have a few things to say. First of all, I want you to become acquainted with who we are. We don't have enough to pass out to everyone, but this is our building. And we're showing you this because we think a lot of decisions are made without anybody actually seeing where we live. Our building was, as indicated earlier, silo. It was built and converted, I should say, in 1915. So that makes it unique. Although it's concrete, it's got a special quality that we are concerned about. Our history, which you will have, some of you will get, tells the story of how these grain elevators, and I believe it's a total of 8, were turned into condos, and then in that community we added some townhomes, and that makes up Our residences located in an idyllic and relatively secluded sites. There are 143 units, 109 are condos, and 34 are townhomes. And we're located between Bede-Magaska and Cedar Lake with tall trees and a meadow. We are also bounded by the Midtown Greenway and Kenilworth Trail, as well as the railroad tracks that transport freight. What's at stake are livability and safety. The light rail project comes within 6 inches of our parking ramp and 24 inches of our high-rise condo structure. The Calhoun Isle high-rise is extremely sensitive to vibrations, given the fact that it is a renovated grain silo. The way vibrations affect the high-rise is quite rare. It behaves very differently. The vibration levels in typical buildings decrease from lower floors to higher floors. That's not the case in our situation, and our building is at as high as 12 floors. The project involves digging a tunnel about 50 or more feet deep. When completed, the light rail and the railroad trains will be in 24/7 operation, and no post-construction vibration study is in the current plans.
Ms. Owens-Hayes, could I?
You know what, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I'd like to do some problem solving here.
Please do.
We have another testifier who's for the next bill, who's a firefighter and has to get back to work. And so I would hope maybe we could at least take the testimony on the next bill, lay this over, and then we could finish the testimony on my bill, if that's okay with the chair.
So we would like-
And maybe if the ranking member is okay with that.
So just to clarify, you'd like to lay
this bill
over
temporarily,
right now.
and then we could go back, and then we could start consideration of House File 492.
Representative Torkelson?
So you want to lay this bill on the table? Would
No, just lay it over
Lay it
until after the next bill is dealt with.
So a recess
A recess for this bill.
for the bill?
Yes, thank
We're
you.
fine with that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we will,
I'd like you can still chair if you'd like.
okay, lay this bill over. So we're going to hold on to 1674 for just a moment and go on to House File 492. So everyone's clear what we're doing? We're moving on to House File 492 currently. Representative Dettmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and committee members, and also like to thank you, the chair, for allowing us to go here, because we have some people here that have traveled here, and also a firefighter from St. Paul that was given a little leave to come over here and testify. And first of all, House File 492, I do have an A1 and A2 amendments. Mr. Chair? Okay.
First, Representative Dettmer, would you like to have us lay this bill over for you, or you like this to be referred to Ways and Means?
I know it has to go to public safety.
Okay.
So it was originally assigned to public safety, and then we moved it here to get the hearing. I think it has to go to public safety.
So I will make a motion to refer House File 492 to Ways and Means.
Okay, thank you. And I have the A1 amendment.
I'm just making sure that I did that correctly. Is that all right? Okay. Perfect. Yes, we have an A1 amendment and an A2 amendment.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. And the A1 amendment simply will title this bill, the Brooklyn Larson's Law.
Thank you. I will make a motion to amend House File 492 with H 0492A1 amendment. Do you have any further discussion on that, Representative Dettmer?
No, that's fine.
Any discussion or question from the committee? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. And is A2 yours as well?
The A2 amendment is basically to get it in the way we want it, and I know the county attorney looked at the original bill and suggested that we go with the A2 amendment to put it in the language that we want.
All right. Thank you, Representative. I will make a motion for the A2 amendment to amend House File 492. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion prevails. All right, so we are in the manner you'd like now, correct, sir?
Okay. Quickly, Mr. Chair, I'll make just a few comments here, then I'll turn it over to the parents, Brooklyn's parents. And this bill came to me, or the parents came to me about a year ago, and we sat down and talked about a situation that occurred in Chisago County where there was an accident. Another vehicle went through a stop sign, T-boned the Larson vehicle, and their daughter, Brooklyn, was killed. And they were waiting to get a hearing, figuring that it would automatically conduct a hearing, but the other driver of the other vehicle got off with just a fine and paid the fine and was off. So they didn't know where to turn to, and they came to me, and I hope none of you ever have to do this, but it's something that I felt was very important that we take a look at the current statute and how we can correct something like this where the parents did not get a chance to have a hearing, a court hearing. So I know what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Patrick Larson and Ginger Larson, and their other daughter, Katie's here too. And I had both these people in school. They were a student of mine when I was teaching at Forest Lake High School. I've known their parents, and I've known their families over for many years. In fact, Patrick wrestled for me, was an all-state wrestler, 18 years in the military, and now is a firefighter for St. Paul. So I'd like to turn it over to the Larson family.
Thank you so much for being here. I think I speak for all of us. We're so sorry for your loss, and so please state your name for the record and proceed as you wish.
Chairman, I'm Pat Larson. This is my wife Ginger and my daughter Katie. Thank you for listening to us. September 9th of 2016, my daughter Brooklyn was killed in a car accident when a man ran a stop sign and T-boned my wife as my wife and daughter were heading to school. And through a series of mistakes and missteps, the person that killed her slipped through the cracks. And because of that, he had to pay a ticket for running a stop sign. It was a $130 fine. And there's a grieving process that you go through. And one of the steps is kind of being able to, say your say and talk about forgiveness and just tell them how it affected your life, and that was taken away from us. And so that's something that we have to kind of live with for the rest of our lives. And our main concern is that no other family would have to go through this process of grief and not be able to have their say. So we talked to Representative Dettmer, if he could help us figure out a way to make this so no one else has to go through this process.
Thank you. Would you like to speak, Ginger?
My name is Ginger Larson. I just want to say I'm confident everybody that would imagine themselves in our shoes can understand how hard it is to lose a child, but I don't think people understand the extra grief it adds when there should be a court hearing and you should get a chance to meet with the person that caused this, and you don't get to have that. It was a year and a half after her death that we found this out, and it caused all more, sleepless nights over again, and it shouldn't have been that way, and I would hope that this would pass so that other families don't get extra grief on top of their grief already.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Chair and members, you also have a handout showing, kind of gives you a story that was put out by the Chisago County Press. And I also asked the county attorney, Janet Ryder, to come in and just fill us in on how the language was put together and why this will solve the issue so that does not have to happen to another family. We can't look back and change what happened to the Larson family, but we can prevent this from happening to families in the future. So if Janet Ryder, the county attorney, would come up and say a few things.
Thank you very much. Ms. Ryder. Ms. Ryder, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Janet Ryder. I'm the Chisago County Attorney, and we're here to support House File 492 and the amendments. To lay context for this process that happened, after the crash, our office waited for the investigation to be complete, and when we determined that there was no other evidence that could allow us to charge the offender with a higher level of an offense, we asked that a citation be written. And in this age of automation and electronics, our process with law enforcement.
Ms. Ryder, could you hold on just a second? Larson family, you can stay there if you'd like. You don't have to remain there if you don't want to. It's completely up to you, whatever works best for you. I just want to make sure you know that you're okay to do what you'd like to do. All right, thank you. Ms. Ryder.
When it was determined that we were not able to charge the offender with a higher level of offense, we asked that a citation be issued, and we were of the impression that this would for sure require a court hearing where the Larsons would have their opportunity as victims to express their position in this matter. Certainly under the Victims' Rights Statute, they're authorized to have that opportunity. However, putting this in the context of the statewide judicial system, our state courts have implemented a payables list. The payables list is a list of offenses that, absent an assertive action by law enforcement and the prosecutor's office, the matters are referred to a payable, and that's what happened in this case. The offender was allowed to pay the offense, and the Larsons were not given the opportunity to be in court and go through the process that they were definitely entitled to. We've taken some steps to rectify the situation within our own processes, but we believe that this has the likelihood of possibly happening again. And in support of them and attempting to avoid this in the future, we are definitely in support of this bill that will create another parentheses within the careless driving statute. Specifically, it carves out another layer of careless driving where that results in great bodily harm or death. Those provisions would not be added to the statewide payables list. Those provisions would definitely require a court appearance by the defendant. And it's our goal to ensure that this process takes place in every case moving forward throughout the state. Aside from that, we believe it is additional good public policy. Certainly, all careless driving offenses are not created equal. This case is an example of the fact that many careless driving offenses do not warrant a court hearing and can be addressed through a payable. But certainly when there is great injury, we need to be sure that our victims are given the opportunity to appear before the court, and our offenders are required to appear for the court as well. Additionally, this subdivision or this parenthetical will allow all of our systems to better track severe crashes that result in great bodily harm or death. And we think from a public safety standpoint that will allow all of us to monitor these cases better and to improve our traffic infrastructure as well as our judicial processes. So that's all the comments that I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Ryder. Representative Cagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Representative Dettmer and Larson family. This kind of brings up some memories. My cousin was hit and killed 5 years ago, and the driver was tested blood alcohol level. Apparently, those get sent through the U.S. mail, not even certified U.S. mail, and the sample was lost. So the family was called up to the Lake County Courthouse and said we couldn't press any charges again, or they couldn't press any charges because they couldn't find the blood sample. And so thank you for bringing this forward, and I feel your pain, so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or discussion? Representative Nelson.
Mr. Chair, and I guess this would be a question for Mr. Gehring, or Mr. Burris, excuse me, the other Matt, Mr. Burris. Just a procedure question here. We're sending this to Ways and Means. Does it have to have a policy hearing in public safety before it can get passed? So it does it have to meet first deadline in the policy committee of of the criminal or whatever, the criminal justice or whatever, public safety, I guess.
Mr. Burris.
Mr. Chair, Representative Nelson, if the bill were referred to Ways and Means, it could be memoed from there down to public safety and be heard as part of meeting first deadline on the, as a policy matter from, within that division's hearing. So it wouldn't need to be a direct referral from the floor to public safety. It could be through Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make sure that we don't mess up and make it miss first deadline, seeing as how that's this Friday, and that's why I asked.
I very much appreciate that. Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? All right. Thank you very much, Representative Dettmer and the Larson family, for this. Do you have any final words, Representative Dettmer?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is a good example where, as legislators, we can work with families and with the law enforcement. I know Sheriff Tyen is here too. He helped a lot and meeting with us, and also the county attorney, Janet Ryder. There's a good example how we can work together to put something good out to prevent things from happening in the future. So I hope we can get this through, and thank you, Representative Nelson, for making that comment too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion prevails. Thank you very much. And Katie, I just have to say, my second grader would hurt me if I didn't compliment you on the shoes and the sweater. That's awesome. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, thank you for allowing that change. I know we're slightly over time, but I have one testifier left that has to leave, can't come back tonight. So I'm wondering if the committee or whoever can stay would be able to hear his testimony on the record. I think it's just a few minutes. And then we can consider the bill after break. Is that okay, Mr. Chair?
That is all right with me. Representative
Okay.
Torkelson gives a thumbs up. So, yes. We have Ms. Do you want Ms. Owens-Hayes to finish her
Ms.
testimony?
Owens-Hayes, were you finished or no? Okay, all right. But, yeah, okay. And Mr. Chair, I've told our two testifiers to keep it brief. But
Thank you.
they definitely have important things to say, and they're busy and can't come back. So I'd like to get their testimony. And thank you so much to the committee for this.
All right, Ms. Owens-Hayes, if you could please restate your name for the record so we've got that. And I believe that I was about ready to cut you off, so you've got just a little bit of time.
Thank you. My name is Van Owens-Hayes, and I'm president of the Calhoun Isles Condominium Association. And what I wanted to finish with was saying we're concerned about potential damage that could cause dishes to fall out of cabinets, pictures off walls, and vibrations at a level that are too uncomfortable for daily living. What we need is for passage of this bill, which is asking for reimbursement of our expenses related to the project, adequate dollar amounts to cover potential damages as homeowners insurance would not cover it, and timely and transparent communication, cooperation, and coordination with light rail, the contractors, the Metropolitan Council. So I want to thank you and for allowing me to speak, and we are requesting that all reasonable preventive measures be taken so that our residents live safely and have the integrity of their homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Ms. Owens-Hayes or Ms. Owens-Hayes or Owen-Hayes?
Owens-Hayes.
Owens-Hayes.
It's a mouthful, I know.
Thank you. I just want to make sure to get it right. All right, seeing no questions, thank you very much. And we have an additional testifier. Could you please state your name for the record?
My name is Jim Nikora. I'm a resident and homeowner at Calhoun Isles. I'm also on the technical committee, which oversees major capital expense and maintenance issues, and also a member of the SWLRT committee, which monitors the progress and advocates for the safety of our buildings. I'd like you to consider and remember 4 points when you're looking at this bill. The Met Council and our association, CICA, need mediated resolution of differences in technical analysis, communications, and coordination. 2, current vibration tests only apply to construction vibrations. The SPO has reneged on its commitment to verify operational vibrations. 3, the SPO is a well-funded and fully staffed organization that has used tactics that cost CICA over $180,000 to date with no end in sight. And 4, the CICA faces potential dangers that have not yet been addressed or quantified. I have a lot to say, but I'm going to try to cherry pick what I've got here so that you could go on about your business.
Oh, and you can always submit that in writing as well, so everyone will see it, but you should proceed.
I will. In 2015, the Trammell Crow project damaged the Luke Calhoun building, and it damaged our buildings. We're 160 feet from that building. We're 2 feet from the tunnel that they're going to dig. There is a high water table in this area, and vibrations travel like shock waves through this water. That's why we were at 160 feet. That's why we were affected so greatly by Trammell Crow.
And Mr. McCourt, we've got, just so you know, we've got just 2 minutes, if that's okay, because we need to have this room cleared out and another committee at 2:30.
Okay, I'm working on it. Okay, so what's happening? I just want to cover these 4 points. First of all, I was saying that we don't have any information on operational vibrations. That was committed to by Chairman Cherimoff in a letter of February 5th to the LCMG, which is the Metropolitan, or the Commission on Governance. So that covers one area of this bill. In terms of reimbursement, it was stated by Mr. Shetnan that we have spent this of our own accord, our own choice, but we've been forced into this, and nothing that has been done on our behalf with the Metropolitan Council has happened without them having pressure or being forced to do it by law. And that the council, or the Metropolitan Council, has seized our property, some of it permanently, some of it temporarily. They intend to return some of it to us denuded, and for us to be able to expect to get through this without professional assistance is almost laughable. And then the last point. The last point is the mediation.
Thank you.
We have had very difficult problems getting, in fact, we still have nothing concrete from the council. This morning, Mr. Shetnan presented his matrix, the status matrix of all the issues, but there is no meat in there. There's nothing concrete that tells us exactly what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, what the procedures are, what the limits are, except that we have a $15,000 limit on unit damages, and that's not going to cover it if we have to relocate or do something else.
All right, thank you very much, sir. We will, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, I think Mr. Shetnan can't come back, but he wants to testify on the record that they're opposed to this, so I don't know if he can. I think he's just going to say that, and then I think we can adjourn.
Yeah,
or
we're gonna
recess,
and we will take this bill back up, correct? Mr. Chair, we will be taking this bill back up at 5:30 today?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Chair and members.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and
Shetnan.
members, again, Judge Shetnan, Met Council, I will submit an email to you. I just cannot be here at 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
We will have somebody from the project office who will be here to answer any specific questions as well.
Thank you. All right. Committee, we will be laying this bill over for a recess until 5:30 in room 500N. So I'll say 5:30 or the call of the chair in room 500N. With that, we are in recess.
You make it?